Giles, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so pleased to be here, to have been given this time to present about Girls and Boys Town. And I am so privileged again to have listened to the speakers last night, as they've laid a very good foundation on what I'm going to be talking about this morning, which is behavior management. We all know that behavior management is a topic that has been spoken about over the years, and it is still a topic that educationists are talking about today, and I believe it will be the topic that most people will be talking about even in future, because discipline is a problem in our schools, in most of our schools. Before I go any further, those of you who do not know Girls and Boys Town, it is an organization that deals with troubled, neglected, orphans, kids that have been called delinquents and have been sent out of their communities. We can't deal with these ones. And Girls and Boys Town, for about 54 years, it has embraced these kids in their care, showing them love, and actually teaching them social skills to be part of the communities again. So what happens is that Girls and Boys Town has actually developed that pedigree and actually adapted all the programs to be part in schools. Yeah. Okay. So as you can see, these are the hallmarks that Girls and Boys Town are putting in place to help with behavior management. We have used these hallmarks in our residential settings, and these hallmarks have been used again in different schools that we have worked with for 10 years now. The first one there, that is the life skills curriculum. This is one of the basic and most important thing to do, even in a school environment. We sometimes take it for granted that our kids know skills. So what we have found is that an assumption sometimes can be wrong, that that a child must know how to greet, for instance. A child must know how to introduce themselves, and they don't. So this is the basic skills. We do have basic skills which move to intermediate as well as advanced skills. Skills that are used daily in schools, those are teachable. So there are methods that have been developed around that. The most important thing, again, working with young people, working with any person, we want to be motivated. Even as adults, we would love to be motivated. So the motivation system, that is key to us. Because remember, we're dealing with kids that have been labeled as delinquents, that have been labeled as criminals, that have been labeled as drug addicts. So now, we're using the motivation system to say, for the efforts that you're doing in making progress with your behaviors, we're going to reward you. So even in schools, sometimes we tend to undermine, we tend to focus our attention more on the bad things. But there are those ones that are good, that need to be rewarded. So the motivation system is used as a key to help in that process. We also have what we call teaching interaction. Teaching interaction, just to explain a bit, is the way in which we interact with learners. The way we talk to them, the way we praise them, the way we do things with them. So it is systemic in nature. Like if you were to pull these hallmarks together as a system, it will work for any environment, especially schools, because these have been researched to be, like if they work together, they can actually help in managing behavior or discipline. So with the teaching interaction, for an example, you will have things like praises, you'll have things like how you correct your learners, how you actually deal with learners that are out of control, that are pointing at you as the principal like this, that are saying words that I can't say, like the F words, the B words. to you, what do you do? So those learners, if they're out of control, there's a teaching interaction. We don't behave like them, yet we are tempted to. But we don't. We use a system in which to interact with them. Because in our facilities, we get a lot of those. They'll come to you and they'll show you all sorts of signs, all sorts of, they'll be angry. So this helps to calm down if the learner, and also to calm yourself. Because if you calm down as an adult in any situation, the child is likely to look at you. Remember last night they were talking about role models. This is where we actually highlight role modeling in any environment. If I want my child to be calm, I must be calm first. If I want my learner to respect me, what do? I respect them as well. And the last hallmark is around office referral. We call it administrative intervention. Also as a system, all of this, if it happens, it gets to the office. How do we handle behaviors in the office? Is it something that is it linked to a school code of conduct? Because what we have realized is that some schools do have they do have their code of conduct, and if they work with their behaviors within those school code of conduct, it works well. But if a school code of conduct is just there and put somewhere in the shelf and be dusted maybe once a year, and that's about it, it's a problem. So we have found that the principals that are linking what's in their school code of conduct with their behaviors, for an example, consequences, it works well. So moving on, we have also seen, you remember, was it 1996 when corporal punishment was abolished? 1996. There was an outcry from teachers as to what now? What can we do? Is there any alternative for corporal punishment? And because we had a hotline that was actually meant for parents, a lot of educators called in to say, Girls in Boys Town, do you have, by then it was Boys Town, do you have a method, something, just give us something that we can use instead of corporal punishment? And I said, of course, we would love to help you. And we went back, of course, sat down, and then we try to adapt whatever we've got, what has worked for us. Because this methodology actually has worked for us over the years, so we adapted those programs to say, yes, we can offer to you as educators. And the reason why we actually came up with that adaptation is that we've also realized that dealing with the learner alone, as an institution, dealing with a learner alone, sometimes it doesn't have the impact that we would love. So even in a school setting, for an example, if we're only dealing with a learner and not involving maybe the family where, especially the parents, as a school, we're just a standalone, just working with the learner. As a community, So what I'm saying here with this model, the holistic approach that we've adopted, we have seen that working with a learner alone within the institution does not necessarily have that impact. Because learners come from a community, in a community where they are used to. If it's a drug kind of environment, they'll go back there. What happens? Even after they've stayed with us maybe for 4 years, but when they go back to their communities, it was the same thing. Same applies to family where they argue all the time and they've picked up on those social cues as good. They'll go back to the same families, which is the same, and the school environment. So we have adopted a holistic approach where we said we'll be looking at the schools, there are different programs that talks about behavior management for schools, for the families, and for the communities. And what I like is that currently it's not done on a massive scale. because we're trying to work intensively with families, like one-on-one kind of counseling, intervention with them. So schools, again, it's not very massive, but yes, it's massive because it's national. But we are trying to make sure that when we work with a school, at least there must be, that continuity. So let's move. And these are the these are the methodologies that we use. Obviously, working with schools, like an assessment where we'll do some observations as to how the school do their things and behaviors, how they interact with learners. And of course, training, which is tailor-made. And then services. This is one of the things that we have realized that it lacks in most of the programs, like support services. When you train and go does not work. But supporting, mentoring, coaching, on what you have trained them on, that's something that works. Also, evaluate what we have done, and take the information that we got from our baseline, evaluate, feed it back to the assessment and the future programs. So, some of the challenges and some of the solutions that we've used in the past, like during the programs, obviously, there will be non-attendance. They'll be saying, we've got a lot of workshops, we've got other things to do, like missed sessions. Those are some of the challenges that we get. Okay. And complaints about paperwork, like during workshops. So the solutions, you can see for yourself, that site, like, there are catch-up sessions, refresher, shorter hours in the afternoon, weekend attendance, and when we do, we minimize paperwork. Because if you come to a school as an organization, they don't want more paperwork. They actually want, less paperwork. So that's what we do. And I just want to end off by saying that behavior management is not a quick fix. Behavior management that has been learned over time, it requires time to change. But if we do not work in a systemic way, then the results will be very minimal. So I also want to say this, that there is no such thing as a bad child. Only bad environments, bad upbringing, bad company, bad surroundings. Thank you very much.